Juergen, if you could give your comments about tonight's performance and the victory that pushed you to the final round.
I think first of all, we'd like to thank that amazing crowd here and all the people involved in the game here in Kansas City. It was phenomenal. Tonight already the public training session Sunday was quite an experience for all of us, even for the European players that are used to kind of big places. I think the performance overall was very good. We didn't need to take that first goal. That was not necessary. I think the good thing was that they responded right away and they turned it around immediately and that calmed things down. Obviously in a game like this you never can be sure. You never know what could happen. Even if you second half would give a goal away, then suddenly the dynamics changes, the momentum changes. And so I wish there would have been a fourth goal just to kill it off. But overall, very pleased and the players responded well. The attitude overall the last couple of days was very, very positive. There's a team growing and supporting each other and overall very positive.
You talk about the relationship between Eddie and Clint tonight. It seemed like they were just really on the same page the whole time.
Well, I heard that they know each other. They know each other very well since a long time, longer than they know me. So yeah, I mean they have good chemistry. They get along, and obviously on the field you want to see guys that are there for each other. When you do a mistake, that the other guy comes and gives you a clap on the shoulder and says, "Come on, let's keep going." So Eddie was definitely a big plus for us to have. For us coaches was wonderful to see his qualities now really kind of in our group. I think he matured a lot. I spoke a lot with Siki over the last couple of months about his path. He went through up and downs obviously in his career, but he understands now the moment. And I told him that when he came in, I said, Eddie, if you give us everything you have, if we just kind of adjust to what we're doing here, don't worry, we're going to be fine. And so he felt comfortable, he felt confident, and he responded with a wonderful performance tonight already in Antigua. So it gives us another card that we can play with. Very well.
If you could raise your hands, please, appreciate it. Stephen now.
Juergen, what's your emotion now after this round? A lot of difficult games. Is it a sense of relief? Is it, how would you describe it?
No, no. I mean, we expected a very difficult qualifying campaign, and that's what it is. When we discussed it a couple of days ago, saying we didn't necessarily want to get down to the wire already in this first stage. But that's how soccer works. If you give away a game like we did in Jamaica, then you have to pay the price for it for a little while, and you have to correct it, and the guys corrected it. And we go through now in first place, and we make things clear that we were the #1 team in this group. So the next round will be even tougher. We have very, very good teams in there, and every game will be a battle. Every game will be a big fight, and we are ready for that. So it's just a normal path, that you go through, and to take a lot of new experiences with that. Players grow, coaches learn, it's just normal.
Congratulations on advancing. What were the things that went well tonight that maybe hadn't gone as well in this game?
Well, I think they understood the moment, and that's why they responded really well after that first goal. They wanted to keep the tempo high, they wanted to come over the wings, they wanted to combine, they wanted to keep the ball. Sometimes even a little bit longer than maybe, we want to see it, but I said, it's better if we have it than they have it. And be patient and wait for these kind of penetrating balls between the fullbacks and the center backs, and all this came. I think they developed a better chemistry. We are obviously step by step breaking new players into that team. Unfortunately Fabian Johnson was not there, and Jermaine Jones. I think you see now players that kind of grow into that team, like Graham Susie, which is something that you see month by month coming through. Jeff Cameron now he claims his spot in that team. So at the same time we have to take care of qualifying and do that. At the same time we want to see also new players coming and making a stamp and on the game and develop through it, because 2013 now, thankfully this is done now, will be extremely busy for us. We're going to play friendlies, World Cup qualifiers and the Gold Cup, so we have to build two rosters for that, because we can't have players do both. So that's good to see that we have players now coming also through MLS. They are knocking at the door. They're getting stronger. The MLS plays now 34, 36 plus playoff games. This gets into their system. They're getting more used to it. They're getting used to play every 4 or 5 games, which is very important. This is not coming overnight. If you talk to the MLS coaches, they tell you that it takes years to get that into your system, and it's growing. So we think a lot.
Does that mean you're not planning on sending your A squad to the Gold Cup? Does that mean you're not planning on sending your A squad to the Gold Cup?
We don't know yet how we're going to manage that whole thing. It's more down to how does actually their own schedule look like. What league do they play, and how does the league work? And we've got to put that puzzle together. It's not going to be an easy one, but it's all right.
Juergen, I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit more in depth about 2 partnerships we saw tonight, both Hurt and Clint Dempsey up front, and then also what you saw from Danny Williams and Mike Bradley.
I think that both partnerships kind of getting smoother and smoother and better. You add now Eddie Johnson to it. That's why we moved Eddie after we took off Berg, up front, because he has also very, very good understanding of Clint. I think Danny Williams is a player that we follow closely over the last 1.5 years. That is a real number 6. He's a similar player like Kyle Beckerman. Who didn't play today, but they play a similar role. And especially when you play teams like Guatemala that hit long balls and then live off the second balls and whatever drops down there in front of the back line, you need to have a number 6 cleaning it up. This was very, very important. So that partnership with Michael is developing. We told Michael to play in front of him, so that they're not only next to each other, more defensively, but when we go forward and Michael plays the attacking role and he sits in, and that worked well. And you have to do that, because otherwise you get caught in counter breaks.
In retrospect, I'm glad the team had a little adversity the last month and a half.
Had a little
adversity, had their backs to the wall the last month and a half. Is that helpful in the long run?
I think it's always better when you have games, very meaningful games, there to prove certain things. Players, especially if you look at the European ones, they come from game to game to game in big leagues, and it's not easy for them always to put that in the right perspective. When you come over, you fly 12 hours over here, and then what kind of game is it now? What is it to expect? So when there's something on stake, like with World Cup qualifier, they're spot on. They know how we have to kind of. So it's a good thing.
Juergen, a year ago you were saying that you wanted to see the players get a bit nasty, as you put it. Are they there now?
Well, no, it's something that in every game is a topic, because the teams, they battle from the first second on. If you look at the games in Guatemala, in Jamaica, those are first of all, they're really battles. So what I mean is that we have to match that physicality, not in a negative way, somebody, but we have to match it and to compete first, from the physical side, and then when you get into a rhythm of the game, then you bring your technical qualities and all the other things into play. I think it's not easy always for the players coming from different backgrounds and understand right away how to approach a certain game. And if you go into these countries, then you have to adjust right away. So that's what I meant with it. You got to respond that way, and you got to make sure that they don't kind of take your breath out.
Right. So are they?
I think they're getting it. Absolutely, yeah. They're getting it. Right. Doing something.
Juergen, you talk about players and coaches learning through this whole process. What's the biggest thing you learned about this team through this qualifying round, and what's the biggest thing you've learned as a coach?
I mean, obviously you learn with every game and every day you work with that group, you know the players better and better, and you make your decisions based on what you see and what you experience, you know, like decisions now for the roster that we already discussed a couple of times. You learn with the games in Central America, obviously, or Caribbean, you know, because that's a new field for me too, and I adjust to it and learn everything about it. I know about World Cup qualifying, you know, I've done that, you know, as a player. It always goes down to the wire, and I mentioned that already, you know, before when we won the World Cup in '90 and stuff like that. But most importantly, as a coach and the coaching staff, you want to see your players develop. You want to see your players getting the feeling that I'm actually improving, I'm getting better here, you know, and respond that way. I mean, for them it's not easy. Again, you know, as I said before, coming from all the different places, flying in and just stepping up like this, it's not, you know, and for them to get it always in the right perspective and how meaningful then a certain game is, you know, when you play 50, 60, 65 games a year, and it's not easy, so we try to get him that picture and we work him through, and sometimes, you know, he needs a louder word, like it was maybe in Antigua, and sometimes they understand it already by looking at them.
Yeah.
Given the roster situation, the level of competition in the States, this was arguably your best performance of this tournament. Is that something good to come at the end? The players take it home to think about it, your opponents look at it and see how well you played. Is this a good way to end this first round?
Well, it is definitely a good way to end that first round and advance and make it clear that we were the number one team in that group. With every game, you try to kind of earn respect. That's what you do. I mean, every friendly, every qualifying game, in every competition, you try always to earn respect. You know that in soccer, everybody is watching you. You know, overseas they're watching you, in South America they're watching you. So Russia will watch us. You know, what we're doing here and stuff like that. So you want to just always make statements. You want to send statements out and say, hey, we are ready for whoever comes in. You know, we want to go to Mexico with the confidence and say we want to beat you there. You know, which happened unfortunately and stuff like that. But every game, and that's really something that you have to repeat to the players all the time. Every game starts as 0-0, and you have to have the right attitude. You have the right spirit for it, and the right approach, and match the opponent right away with that fighting spirit. Otherwise, you're gonna look bad.
Juergen, a little bit of defensive disjointedness there at the beginning. You talked about the goal. What did you make of that, and does that concern you at all? Did it improve, though?
Yeah, it improved a lot throughout the game, but obviously it didn't make you happy after 5 minutes, no doubt about it. But we can only always show things, mention things. We actually trained that yesterday specifically, and then still it happened, because it is soccer. Anything can happen. You can train it 100 times and still it can happen. But I was obviously not happy with it. But then Carlos and Cam and especially Danny, they built that triangle that we needed in order to deal with Carlos Ruiz, who's just that warrior out there that you guys know, and big credit to him. But it was unnecessary.
Juergen, can you explain what was going on tactically when the two outside mids, Sissi and Johnson, were flip-flopping back and forth, but then at the end of the half, Johnson ended up on top and Dempsey was on the inside?
I think it's a great option now to have with Eddie, that he can play wide, but he also can play up front, and have both ways of doing it. It's exciting to see that. I think Graham Susie brings an element into this group that is, he's technically so gifted, he keeps the ball, his passing is accurate. I told him before the game, he was extremely excited obviously today playing in his home stadium. I just said to him, keep things simple, because when you kind of have this special moment, you try to overdo it, and he didn't, he kept it simple. That gives us worth in certain moments. The danger from Guatemala more or less comes through the middle. Especially then when they did their subs, that all happened through the middle. So that's why we kind of shifted things around a little bit to be stronger. Mo came in then just to be really strong as well in the middle, but also still keep pushing forward. And fresh legs gave us that element in as well. So it's a good thing to have. So defensively, their job was Eddies and Rams to come tuck in, and offensively was go wide and play through, which they did.
Thanks, Juergen. A couple minutes, the mix-up of the U.S. team will be over.
Thanks, team.